guys, it's Haley and welcome to another bookish video. Today I'm going to be doing a try a chapter reading vlog. I am so excited to share all of these books with you. I have so much that I wanted to read this October, and I know I'm not going to be able to get to everything, but I wanted to try out a bunch of books so I can make sure that I'm dedicating the time that I do have for books that are going to be worthwhile. So if you've never seen a try a chapter vlog before, what we're going to be doing is diving into all of these books, and I also have my Kindle here. We have a few books to dive into on my Kindle, and I'm just going to be reading the first chapter with y'all and giving you guys my initial thoughts, and I'm gonna rank my top three. My top three I will be reading in the course of this month, so you'll hear about them and maybe a couple others in my wrap up. But my top tier patrons are actually going to get a reading vlog of my number one favorite, most anticipated choice after all the rankings are done, and I have my, what I think is gonna be my most favorite out of these 10 horror and thriller books. So if you're not a part of my Patreon, the link to join is always down below. We always have such a good time. I love hanging out with the besties. I love talking with them. And I usually, for my queen video, because my top tier I call the queens, they get a unique video every single month that will never see the light of day on YouTube ever. And this month I'm gonna do a little reading vlog for them with my favorite book from this video. So if you want to see that, go ahead and join, but no pressure. Of course, you're still gonna get all the tea in this try a chapter vlog. Before we get into the actual reading, I do just want to thank the sponsor for today's video, which is Membrane Solutions. Y'all, Membrane Solutions is so cool. So they sell air purifiers, and I know what you're probably thinking.
What the heck is an air purifier? Why do I need one?
My mom actually has an obsession with air purifiers. She was telling me for so long that I needed one, and I was like, no. And then when Membrane Solutions reached out, I was like, you know what? Maybe I should listen to my mom, give it a try, and I'm so happy that I did. This is the air purifier that I have. It is the MSA3, and it is specifically designed for pet dander, pet hair, and fibers, which obviously comes in handy because I do have my two little Chihuahua lovelies that shed all over everything. And this system is specifically designed to purify your air from all of these harmful danders, and it will actually make the air a lot easier to breathe in and relieve allergy symptoms. Since I've been using it, I actually have seen less and less allergy symptoms, which is very cool. It also captures pollen, which is nice, and it has a patent for a special technology that actually removes pet odor as well. So if you're one who is constantly lighting candles because your house smells like cats or dogs or whatever fur babies you have, this is a great one for you. But they also have a ton of other different air purifiers, some that connect to Wi-Fi. They have all different kind of purposes. I just obviously prefer the pet one since I have a small apartment and a lot of Chihuahua hair everywhere. As you can see here, there are a bunch of different noise levels. So I'm actually filming with it on right now, and it is completely silent, but you can raise it up and up and up for higher power, or you can actually put it on night mode and have virtually no sound at all. You can also turn off the lights on the machine if you want to have it going at night. So overall, this has just been a really great experience trying out an air purifier. It makes me feel like an adult with my life together. Like I have a very clean and pure aired home. So if you're interested in checking out Membrane Solutions, I will leave my link down below. Go ahead and check them out if you are interested in an air purifier. And thank you again to Membrane Solutions for sponsoring this video. Now let's go ahead and get into the try a chapter vlog. I don't know what I want to start with. Should I give you a rundown of kind of what I'm going for here? I have a lot of thriller and horror books. First up, I think I'm gonna start with Pen Pal by Dathan Auerbach. Also Dathan? Not sure about that name. Like Dathan is either that like super hot emo boy with the massive biceps on TikTok, or Dathan is king of the incels who moderates like 18 different discords. Like it's one or the other. And I'm just so intrigued by the name Dathan, but this one my friends have been hyping up a lot, so I think I'm gonna start here, but I will also be trying in this video Suburban Hell by Maureen Kilmer, Cackle by Rachel Harrison, Bathhouse by PJ Vernon, Halloween Slaughter by Sergio Gomez, The Night Stalkers by Christopher Triana and Ryan Harding, Reprieve by James Hahn Matson, Larry by Adam Millard, Man Fuck This House by Brian Osmond, and Only the Stains Remain by Ross Jeffrey. So let's go ahead and dive in with our first book, which is Pen Pal. All right, I have finished the first chapter of Pen Pal, and it is very creepy. I will say the first chapter was quite long, so I looked through the rest of the book, and I think that's a theme. Like, these chapters are gonna be like 20, 30, 40 pages a piece, which I feel like is gonna make the book go super slow, but I'd be lying if I didn't say that I was very, very intrigued by this premise. We kind of have a guy who is going back through his childhood memories and I guess trying to uncover some kind of trauma or horror that happened to him and put the pieces together. The first chapter is actually called Memories, and it's basically just going through these memories that stand out to him and setting up the story. The premise of the story that I know beyond the first chapter is that this little boy is doing this class project where he releases a balloon with a letter attached to it. Everyone in his class does this, and they try to get replies back for people that like find the balloons and find the letter, because the return address is like for the school, so these kids get letters at the school, and it's like this cute little project. But this kid's letter falls into the wrong hands, and he ends up being tormented by his pen pal throughout his life. I've heard it's really dark, and because the opening chapter was very like creepy and just like haunting and intriguing, like it sucked me in. I need to know more, because hearing that it is super, super dark and hearing that premise, not getting to any of it, just having the setup, I'm like very intrigued. I'm gonna go ahead and give this one initially a 10 out of 10. And next up, let's go for something a little bit more extreme. I think I'm gonna pick up The Night Stalkers by Christopher Triana and Ryan Harding. This one is about two grocery stores that I guess are like in competition with each other. And one of them, their like employees start murdering the other one's employees. I don't know. It's an extreme horror. It gives like Grady Hendrix vibes. It's getting campy. I'm very interested in this one. I want to know if it sucks me in with the gore right away, or if I'm gonna have to like sit through a little bit to get to the gore. So let's find out. All right, I read the first chapter of The Night Stalkers, and y'all, if you're a service worker, you need to read this. Like, you have to read it. It is like opens with these employees dealing with this cranky customer that they literally put in her place so well, which I'm not gonna obviously give that away, but it was so campy and funny and like relatable if you've ever been a service worker. And the violence starts right away, although in the foreword, which I also read in addition to the first chapter, Christopher Triana does say that this novel is not considered extreme. So if you're not an extreme horror reader, you can definitely still read this. It is just simply a splatter punk book. I'm gonna go ahead and give this one a 9 out of 10. I don't know, I really liked it. It didn't give me much substance, but it gave me a lot of fun. So I think I'll try to make time for this one this month, but I obviously want to get to the more intriguing ones first. Next up, I think I'm going to get into Reprieve by James Hahn Matson. This, I've heard, is marketed really, really incorrectly. So it says that this is a escape room thriller about a bunch of people who get caught in a full touch extreme haunted attraction. And then somebody dies in there, and like what happened. And the first part is called like Witnesses. So you're like, oh my God, the witnesses to the crime. But I've heard that it's actually really, really, really slow. So I am nervous going in, but we'll see. It looks like the first chapter is only 3 pages. So hello vlog, I'm back, and I just finished the first chapter of Reprieve. So it didn't give me much information because it was so short, but it was in like an interview style, which lets me know all the events in the book in the escape room have already taken place, and it's like told from a retrospective, like after the event, everybody's being interviewed kind of situation, which I like, but I feel like I think a lot of people were expecting it to be like action, action, action. And obviously it's not gonna be that since it's all like recalling the past. So I'm not super intrigued in this one. I do have the audiobook of this one, so I might give it a listen, but I'm gonna give it like a 7 out of 10. Next up, I'm gonna try out the first chapter of Halloween Slaughter by Sergio Gomez. Camp Slaughter, which is the first book in the series, I absolutely loved. It got me out of a reading slump. I freaking adore that book. It is just a straight up slasher. We're following a killer who is a cannibal. It's giving like Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibes, except for some reason I have empathy for the villain, which doesn't happen for me a lot, but I was like kind of rooting for him. Like he has some trauma and we just learned a little about his life and like I just really like him. Okay, so I'm excited to follow him again in Halloween Slaughter. I'm gonna read the first chapter and get back to you. All right, I just finished up the first chapter of Halloween Slaughter and not a lot happened. I feel like we were just setting up the story. Obviously, that's kind of what a first chapter is for. But this girl is driving to a job interview and she's on the phone with her mom. Her mom's really worried about her. So it's like that foreshadowing building up and she's like, I'll be fine, I'll be fine. But she's on this creepy road alone driving, and as a woman driving on an abandoned road, like I've been in that position and it is scary. So I feel like we're playing on real world fears that are just foreshadowing the bloody events to come, and it really makes me want to read more. I already like our main character. She's kind of like a
Yes, mom, I roll.
kind of a girl, which I just like. I'm drawn to that kind of like edgy girl, apathetic adolescent energy. So I am gonna give this one a 9 out of 10. There was no like big action, didn't start with a bang, but I'm definitely intrigued. I think next I'm gonna dive into Bathhouse by PJ Vernon. And this book is about a guy. He is a recovering addict and finally he has all he wanted in his whole life: sobriety, a loving partner. And with everything to lose, he shouldn't be visiting this bathhouse for gay men to anonymously hook up, but he does go. And something happens there where like a line is crossed and it follows him for the rest of his life. So I'm excited to see if we're gonna get into that actual like traumatic event in the first chapter. I guess we'll see. Oh my gosh, this first chapter was so good. I gotta give this one a 10 out of 10. We open in the first scene and we're in the bathhouse. He's walking in. He's like,
Oh my god, I'm so unsure about this. I'm regretting. Oh my god, what if my husband finds out?
and then we get into the actual encounter. The full thing hasn't happened yet, but we definitely got a taste of the action, and the atmosphere that it set up was just so good. I feel like I could picture everything in my head. I'm like kind of obsessed with this initially. I think it sounds so good just based on the synopsis in that first chapter. It's an easy 10 out of 10 for me. And our main character is very like morally gray because obviously he is getting into some nefarious activities. He's cheating on his husband, who just seems to be a gem from what we know, but he's also very sympathetic because we're seeing this traumatic thing happen to him. So I just think that kind of balance in a main character will put a book over the edge for me. I'm definitely intrigued about what's going to happen to him, and yeah, this is a 10 out of 10. I'm definitely going to get to this one this month. Next up, let's get into Suburban Hell. This is about a group of suburban women who, during their monthly wine get-together, concoct a plan to build a she shed. Okay, if you haven't seen the iconic commercial that references a she shed, I don't know what to tell you. It's kind of like a man cave, but for women who want to like go out in the backyard in their shed.
Women are not allowed in the house. You have to go do your crafts and drink your wine in the shed.
So they're making this shed, and apparently it happens, like it's built on haunted ground, and something starts happening where one of the women gets possessed by the spirit of the she shed. It sounds absolutely ridiculous. It's kind of giving a mix between My Best Friend's Exorcism and Southern Book Club's Guide, because it's these like suburban women who are dealing with their best friend's possession. So I'm gonna go ahead and get into the first chapter and we'll see just how ridiculous this is. All right, this is gonna be another banger. It sounds so good. Just the initial chapter, like, gave me all the rich mom, suburban woman vibes, like just the little references, like drinking George Clooney's tequila and complaining about having to wake up so early for CrossFit in the morning and like drinking their wine. I don't know, it is just, it captures that vibe that I love, which is catty suburban women existing. And it's very campy and over the top. Like they all christened the area where they were gonna build the she shed by like pouring a little bit of their drink, like just pouring one out on the little area that they were gonna build the she shed on. And as soon as they did, it's like the wind started rushing and it's very like over the top cinematic. You could just picture it in your head. And immediately after, they're just like,
well, that was weird.
It's just funny and campy right from the jump. I don't think this one's gonna be scary at all, but if you're looking for something that still captures like Halloween vibes, I think this would be a good one. I'm very excited for it. It's not too deep, so I'm gonna go ahead and give it an 8 out of 10. It is very camp. It is giving like a whole lot of entertainment and not much substance, so 8 out of 10, pretty good. Next up, we're gonna get into Cackle by Rachel Harrison. And this is about a woman who moves to this dreamy little small town, think like Halloween Town vibes. And she makes friends with this weird woman that everyone in the town hates. And soon she figures out why. This woman may or may not be a witch. We're gonna get into it and I'll give you the full tea. All right, I'm done with the first chapter of Cackle and it did drag a little bit. It felt a little long. I think it was like almost 20 pages. So I was like, come on girl. Like, when is this gonna be over kind of thing? And it spanned a few days just in the first chapter. So kind of slow moving, but it definitely gave a lot of Halloween creepy vibes without being scary. This is another one kind of like Suburban Hell where I don't think it's going to be scary at all. This doesn't feel like horror. It feels like we're just following a woman in her life, but it's very small town Halloween cute. She hasn't actually moved to the town yet, but she's like about to move there, and she is celebrating her birthday as like her last night out in the city with her friend, and they go to a little like psychic fortune teller, which just is giving like all the spooky vibes. And it's this big foreshadowing scene where she's like,
I can't, it's too dark. I can't see anything. Your future is shrouded in darkness and there are horrible things to come.
So it's like setting up the story that is supposedly going to be crazy, but the pacing was not giving crazy. So I'm gonna give this like a 7 out of 10, maybe a 6.5. I did enjoy it, but it was just a little slow and we weren't actually in the town yet. So I know it's gonna take a little bit to actually get there, which it was very similar when I read Rachel Harrison's other book, The Return. I enjoyed it, but it took a while to actually get into what the flap said was going to happen in the book. So I'm feeling like that's going to be similar, but definitely not a bad intro to this book. Next up, let's get into the Kindle books that I have here. The first one I'm going to get into is Larry by Adam Millard. This is about a killer pig. It's a slasher, like a man with a pig mask, not an actual pig. This is not Pearl by Josh Mallerman, although I do love that book, but I love pig stuff. I don't know what it is. Like, I love Pearl. That's one of my favorite horror books. I love the like pig mask motif in American Horror Story. It's just so freaky to me. I love it. So I'm very, very excited to get into this. And just initially, first chapter says Camp Diamond Creek 1978, which is giving like the perfect vintage slasher vibes. I'm gonna read the first chapter and I will get back to you. All right, I'm done with the first chapter of Larry and it is so funny. It is so self-aware. This is very like self-referential, which is what I love about the horror genre. It's like that a lot of the time, and this is definitely no exception. We are kind of opening up on what would typically be the final scene of a horror movie, where it's like the killer is tracking down the last girl, the final girl's not gonna get away this time, and he's like detailing all the ways that he had killed her friends. And this is on page 1, so it's not a spoiler. And I think this is like in the Pigman killer's past, and he's like reminiscing on the best massacre that he did. It is so just self-aware, down to like the little referential things about like horror movies, and I love that shit. I just like ate this up, especially when they like the killer and the girl start having a conversation about how she is the final girl. Like, it was just so campy and fun to me, and I know that this is gonna be just a good old classic slasher that I enjoy. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 9 out of 10. I could not have enjoyed it anymore, other than if it was a little tad bit shorter. It did feel like it dragged a little bit. It could just be that I'm having fatigue, like just reading the first chapter of a book without it progressing from there. So that might be on me, but 9 out of 10. And next up, let's get into Man Fuck This House. Yeah, let's do Man Fuck This House, which is a haunted house horror novella. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit more fun and campy than typical, because it's called Man Fuck This House. Like, they're not trying to scare you and be like the haunting of blah 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 blah. Like, it's not going to be serious. So I'm gonna read the first chapter and let you know what I think. All right, done with the first chapter of Man Fuck This House, and it has like a very typical paranormal movie setup, where the couple is pulling up to their new home with their kids in the back seat, and they're exploring the new house, and it looks really beautiful, almost too good to be true. They're waiting on the movers to move in all their stuff, and just slightly off things start happening. And of course the mom is like, this is a new start for us, and the kids are like, ugh, I didn't want to move here. Like, it's just very stereotypical in that way. I did one of these try a chapter vlogs last October time, and I read White Smoke, the first chapter of that, in that video. This one reminds me of a lot of that. It's just like the typical haunted house setup. Nothing too unique, other than the son. Like, the son and the family is like being intentionally creepy, like trying to scare his mom, because he's like,
I'm more perceptive than the average kid. Like, I know that she's scared of me and I'm just gonna lean into it.
which I think he's gonna be a very interesting character to follow, and it's gonna be cool to see like how much of the stuff that goes on in the house is paranormal and how much is just this little shit of a kid. So I thought that was really funny. It wasn't anything too special though. I'm gonna go with like a 8 out of 10. And the last book that we're going to check out is Only the Stains Remain by Ross Jeffrey. I have almost no idea what this is about. I got the recommendation from Kat from Cat Chats, and of course I blindly trust her judgment. So it says on here, Only the Stains Remain is the haunting story of Jude and Kyle, two brothers whose lives are destroyed when, following the death of their mother, their 3 abusive uncles move into the family home. While Jude suffers to a degree, Kyle is the one who takes the brunt of it, submitting himself to preserve his younger brother's innocence. Now, as a grown man, Jude's mind turns to vengeance for what they have endured. Ooh, so this is gonna be a revenge story. I love it. And it opens up with a Stephen King quote that says, beating heroin is child's play compared to beating your childhood. Ooh, there's gonna be some trauma rep in here. I love to see it. I'm gonna get into chapter 1 and let you know my thoughts. I'm done with the first chapter of Only the Stains Remain. It's intense. We cut to right into this man, like his grief as he's reliving some horrible emotions from childhood. It's like, I remember how this happened, I remember how the mosquitoes busied themselves finding our flesh in the long evenings of that summer. Like, just these descriptions put you in the state of mind of like exactly what we're about to get into. And he's obviously like setting out on this journey to get revenge. This book is only 116 pages. So this is just gonna be a quick and dirty revenge story, but it's gonna be a little bit deeper, it seems, because I can already feel the emotions of our main character, and we're just in chapter 1. I need to read you the first sentence of this book though, because it's phenomenal. In the summer of '82, I found out what it took to kill a child. Please, please tell me you're not intrigued by that. Tell me you're not intrigued. I gotta give that a 10 out of 10. I gotta give it a 10 out of 10. Like, that was good. I definitely want to keep reading. So now that I've read through all 10 books, let's go ahead and do my top 3 rankings. There were 3 that I rated 10 out of 10 just based on the first chapter. I think in the third slot, I'm gonna put Bathhouse by PJ Vernon. I really loved this one. It's just a little bit longer, so I don't know if I want to get into it right now. There's definitely more appeal to get to the shorter books, but I loved that we got a taste of the action without raising the stakes to here, so the book has nowhere to go from there, and I think I'm gonna really like this one. Above that, I'm going to rank Only the Stains Remain. I think I'm gonna love this one because of the short nature, the trauma rep, and the revenge storyline. I love all 3 of those things, so it's set up to succeed. But my top number 1 ranking is gonna be Pen Pal by Dathan Auerbach. I just cannot wait to read this one. This by far had the most intrigue, where it kept me guessing and guessing. Like, I feel like it told me nothing and so much at the same time, and I just really want to dive into the story. So this is going to be the book that I will be reading over on Patreon. My Queen video for this month will be a dedicated reading vlog. No spoilers, so don't worry. I'm just gonna be giving y'all the full tea. And I've heard this one goes crazy at the end, so I'm super excited to get into it. All right, that's gonna be it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like this video if you liked it, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And thank you again to Membrane Solutions for sponsoring this video. If you guys want to check out their air purifiers, I will have them linked below. And don't forget to go to therapy and read a book this week. I will see you in my next one. Bye!